title has moved slightly off the first slide, so I'll just leave that there for a second and then I'll move into my presentation. So I just wanted to specifically thank the conference organisers, CIRP, for the wonderful invitation to attend and present to you. It has been a wonderful chance for me to visit Sri Lanka, and this is my first visit. One of my Sri Lankan colleagues, Thiru Venerastan, said to me that I should say Ayubowan. So I believe that means something good. I'm hoping it means something good. It's a program of research that has been undertaken at USQ over about 10 years. And as part of the research program, I just wish to acknowledge the contribution of several of my colleagues. Not all of them are in the photo, but I particularly like this photo because it has a Sri Lankan lady who worked for me, Damini Singhi. There could also be factors which may start out as extrinsic, which I come to value myself. So if I value the direction and goals of my organisation, I may in fact adopt them as my own, and that's a type of motivation which is listed there as integrated regulation. The red box down the bottom of this diagram tries to capture some of these distinctions without the terms that nobody understands within the circles. Terms like introjected regulation and identified regulation and integrated regulation. Well, they're very confusing terms. But down the bottom you'll see that we're moving from the spectrum of more controlled motivation on the left to more autonomous motivation on the right. There are some things in life though that are completely intrinsically motivating. We do them because we love doing them. And in those situations, you do not even need to think about why you're doing it. In fact, you probably won't even be aware of time passing. It will be something that you are so absorbed in that it is captivating everything. And that may be unusual in the work situation, but we certainly are able to identify work motivation which is more autonomous and contributes to much more positive outcomes. In some of our research, we have asked employees to describe motivation and how they are responding. And in this case, the focus of this research was professional development that the person was undertaking in the workplace. And one employee, not this fellow who's pictured, described the professional development that they attended, for example, this kind of event that we're doing today, that as being fulfilling a personal need, not because someone has said, yes, you should go to this, it's going to be helpful to you, and that's what tapping you on the shoulder means. It's not just purely, it's not this external factor, it's purely, as I said, self-driven and out of interest. So the person has identified something that satisfies them internally. And this is what we're looking at, the psychological states that go along with being very autonomously motivated. And I'll describe to you what it is that we believe contributes to those psychological states and how we can try to create those in the work environment. Might I ask how much longer I've got?
We only have 2 presentations in this session, so continue.
Thank you. So I have 45 minutes to go then. As I was saying before, Maslow's hierarchy has recently been modified to incorporate the most basic need for Wi-Fi. And I am suffering at the moment because I cannot get this on my telephone while I'm here. So you can see that I'm experiencing a deprived state, a psychological need that's not being met. You're meant to laugh at that point, by the way. Self-determination theory proposes that there are 3 basic needs. So it is a concept that we're familiar with, but we're used to thinking of the hierarchy of needs and the priority that is given to lower level needs in the hierarchy. However, self-determination theory proposes that there are 3 basic needs, And when those needs are fully satisfied, we will experience the highest state of motivation, autonomous motivation in our work environment. They're the needs for autonomy, being able to exercise control and change the direction of my life, to choose how I go about behaving, particularly in the work context. Relatedness, this need to be connected and to have meaningful contact with other humans. And competence, the need to be able to develop my skills and knowledge and to be good at the things that I devote myself to. The research from the self-determination theory perspective has shown us that there are work climates, and I use that term, I'll explain it if necessary, but work climates or environments that promote the satisfaction of the three basic psychological needs, which ultimately enhance more autonomous or intrinsic motivation in the workplace. So satisfaction of those basic needs leads to persistence and behaviour change, to effective performance, particularly on tasks that actually require some creativity, some cognitive flexibility, conceptual understanding. It does promote job satisfaction, positive work attitudes, organisational citizenship behaviours, psychological adjustment and well-being. So you're getting the complete package if you are able to experience satisfaction of basic psychological needs and this higher level of autonomous motivation in the workplace. So that is the focus of our research. That is what we've been trying to develop, and the model that we have developed we have called FOCUS, Fostering Organisational Climate for Understanding Staff. The methodology is not the focus, I use that word again, of the presentation today, because the methodology was quite complicated and perhaps it would even detract from the model that we've developed. I'm very happy to respond to methodological questions afterwards. As part of a large-scale staff opinion survey of the government health department in the state of Queensland, we collected comments about the work environment from 3,308 people out of those who responded to a staff opinion survey. So there were 6,225 in that sample. We did have predetermined ideas. We are using our self-determination theory approach. So we were looking for particular comments that we could use to develop questionnaire items. And we used a thesaurus to provide initially a suite of a number of keywords like access, adequate, career, continuing courses, development, growth, etc., etc. We had a large vocabulary of words, and we used a very unique piece of software developed in Queensland called Leximancer, which developed a word cloud or a picture of the concepts that were contained within these text comments, these thousands of text comments. This is quite a rigorous approach actually, and I do not believe has ever been done before in terms of developing questionnaire items for a survey. From that process, which I do not wish to underestimate, it took a large amount of time, we developed questionnaire items based around those 10 areas, which are, we believe, cover the work climate domain and saturate that domain. We've focused on communication, feeling valued and involved, peer support, performance and appraisal, the professional interactions with your colleagues, quality of work life, role clarity, stress and work pressure, supervisor support, training, mentoring and career growth. The number of items ranged from, I think, 8 to 14 in each of those domains. We then undertook 2 separate rounds of validation of those scales. So the validation process is quite rigorous. We collect data, we look at how those items are performing using the normal reliability processes, but we also undertook factor analysis to clarify and to have the best possible measures of those constructs. We undertook a process called rash analysis to enable us to select items which discriminated between people's work climate, those who were reporting higher and lower degrees of those different variables. Finally, we captured a multi-item construct that we called respectful workplaces. Out of that initial piloting of the scales, we were then able to construct a model of how those key variables were related. And while Peter joked that I might have given you an elaborate structural equation model, I chose not to do that today. With statistics, often less is more. And you do not need to necessarily see everything that came out of the structural equation modelling. However, what we have been able to do is to capture the key concepts in a conceptual model and illustrate that in this way. And I'd like to present to you the focus model that we have developed. At the heart is focus on employee engagement. So we did use employee engagement as the thing that we were trying to explain in our structural equation modelling. Employee engagement on the bottom right is really the thing we're trying to predict here. And in our model, very briefly, so there we go. We have two key psychological states which in the model mediate the relationships between the other predictors and employee engagement, stress and work pressure tolerance, and morale and job satisfaction. Those key states are predicted by several of the other variables, and most immediately by an underlying factor we've called respect, with feeling valued and feeling involved as the two indicators, or that are capturing the degree to which the employees has a sense of respect in their work environment. Work supports is also an underlying factor, which is this construct here, with communication, role clarity and supervisor support helping to explain or as indicators of work support. And trust in leadership is sitting up the top here as really the key aspect of the work environment that helps to explain and set the scene for the other variables that are in this model. In the health environment, clinical management practices, clinical communication, clinical multidisciplinary team support, and work area management practices were all included as well because they were relevant to the health context. In the final couple of slides, I'd just like to highlight future directions for our research and where we think this research will have the most impact in work environments. This is in the area of interventions to build civility and respect in the workplace. We did not have to go back to scratch in this regard because there's a very strong line of research already in place with the acronym CREW, Civility, Respect and Engagement in the Workplace. I'll briefly outline that for you. This is a cultural change initiative that was launched by the Veterans Health Administration in the United States, and the research and development happened in their National Centre for Organisational Development. The aim of CREW is to improve the work climate through more civil and respectful interactions. Do you remember in our focus model, respect is a key contributing factor to the psychological states that help to produce empowerment. And the obvious reason is, if you think about self-determination theory again, because we are experiencing deeper levels of need satisfaction in the work environment where we feel respected and valued. So the explanation is, I think, quite sound. The business case for CREW is amazing. The intervention has shown to improve job satisfaction, reduce turnover, reduce sick leave, reduce complaints from employees about each other, about their supervisors, that's what EEO represents. And in a health context, improve patient outcomes. So there is a vast amount of evidence that has accrued from the thousands of sites where this intervention has been used. A systematic literature review by Hodgkins, McCurtain, Mannix, McNamara, and I forget the institution, but it is a British university, evaluated the multi-component organisational level interventions on reducing incivility in the workplace, and CREW is the only one that has an adequate level of empirical support. That concludes what I intended to say today. I would be very happy for anyone who wished to contact me about this line of research. It is one that we're continuing, and we're looking at not just the CREW intervention to improve civility, respect and engagement in the workplace, but other systematic organisational development and cultural change interventions that ultimately will produce workplaces that people enjoy, in fact love, going to work to. So thank you very much for your attention.
Do we have any questions for Professor Machin?
I am available afterwards.
I have a question for you.
Yes,
do you feel, from what you've known about Sri Lankan culture and society, that there would be opportunities to adapt this model for the local work environment?
I think that's an excellent question, Peter. The explanation I offer to you as to why this model is an adequate model and helps us to understand employee engagement is because it's satisfying the need for autonomy, relatedness and confidence. The theory suggests these are universal needs. Okay, so forget Maslow, that's pretty well gone. But this theory is suggesting these are universal needs. So we need evidence from a variety of cultures, a variety of workplaces, different kinds of work organisations, small enterprises. We need to explore a whole range of settings in order to establish the validity of these kinds of models across the board. Yes, we'd love to be doing some research here. Yes, sir.
Now, in this model, you identify self-gender theory, autonomous, related, and self-competence.
Yes.
And then we elaborately like what 10 domains
Yes.
that the model really actually work with.
Yes, can I just say the 10 domains are aspects of work environment. So,
Yeah.
yeah, and we understand from our own analysis that they do impact on how respected and valued employees feel.
Now, one of the things I experienced, especially working in Sri Lanka, the government sector, where you have a job, it's very hard to kick you out, and your pension is guaranteed.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you have more than, if you count about 60 to 70 days of leave which you legitimately can apply for, say, conference and others in that level.
Okay.
So in this context, I wonder how this engagement, the concept of engagement in your work, especially as automatically motivation would work.
And can I thank you for the question? The impact, even in an environment that you have described, has been still powerful. There is still evidence to support that the workplace, regardless of the type of institution, has an important impact on people's sense of respect and ultimately through those other variables, morale and job satisfaction, stress and work pressure tolerance, on levels of employee engagement. So every workplace has the potential to enhance or detract from satisfaction of those basic needs. That's the key that I'm proposing, that it is the degree to which those basic needs are being satisfied that will determine whether people are more autonomously motivated and ultimately the better employees. The evidence is mounting, and I would hope that this is an opportunity for us to continue the discussion about how we might collect additional evidence. We're very interested in that. Yes, sorry. Thank you, sir.
It's only a doubt whether the model is statistically evaluated. It's not, isn't it?
Would you please repeat?
The model is whether it is statistically evaluated or...
Yes, sir. It is statistically evaluated, and we used a very rigorous process with a very large sample. Everything that we have done has been validated with the most rigorous processes. So I'd just like to assure you about that. I chose not to present any statistics to you because for most people that's...
This kind of that path analysis presentation, I am seeing it for the first time. That's why I am asking this.
Correct. And in fact, we definitely have conducted everything in the most rigorous way. We have the fortune of having world-class statisticians working with us on this research. So thank you very much for your attention today. I really appreciate the chance to present to ICAP.